I'm going to talk a little bit, but what I want to do before I start is give you a little bit of flavor for the complexity of the Douglas County Sheriff's Volunteer Program. Overall, I think we have somewhere in the vicinity about 250 volunteers that helps the Sheriff's Department out. We have several groups. The group that I'm in, a couple of groups that I'm involved with. The primary group is the Community Safety Volunteer Program, which I'm going to talk about in more detail a little bit later. I'm also a member of the Public Safety Advisory Committee, and that's an advisory committee to the sheriff and undersheriff regarding public safety issues. And it's a very small group, somewhere around 25 to 35 members, and they engage in all kinds of activities, sometimes at the request of the sheriff, sometimes at the request of the community. But again, we're there to advise the sheriff's office about community safety issues. There's also the search and rescue team. The search and rescue team of Douglas County has the primary responsibility to perform search and rescue missions, and these will include both urban and rural searches, oftentimes up in the national forest. Several of their members are trained as like an EMT, where they can provide emergency medical services for our citizens who are injured, either up in the woods. They also do searches for those folks that have mental issues, and we need to try to help the sheriff's office find them. We also get involved in doing search and rescue gets involved in doing work for evidence search. So if there's a crime that's been committed and they need to find a weapon or bullets or casings or that kind of thing, they'll often call the search and rescue group to come out. There's about 65 to 75 citizen members of the search and rescue group. Then there are a small number of other volunteer organizations that provide help in the administrative side of the sheriff's office. What I'm going to start out with is a little video. So I hope you're going to enjoy this. And I hope I got this right.
We practiced this, so we'll see. We did.
There's hope for me yet.
I see the undersheriff has arrived, so we're good. Hi, Holly.
Whoops, hang on, I'm trying to get this whole thing to work.
Oh, you're fine. John is doing his Citizens Academy right now, and then we'll switch over to you in a second.
Okay, great.
Thanks. Can you see the video, anyone? I can't either. Andrea, can you do a share screen?
That's the end of the video anyway.
Well, looks like you enjoyed it, but none of us saw it.
Oh, you know what? Maybe I had it hit. I bet this is the problem right here. Hang on a second. I bet I can bring it back. But you know what? Why don't we save that since Holly's on? Let her do her presentation, and then I'll come back, because I don't know how busy she is today. Does that work?
Okay. Okay, I'm going to introduce Holly since Holly's here, and then we'll come back and enjoy John's video in a few minutes. You probably have all met the Undersheriff Holly Nicholson-Kluth before, but she's attended many of our events as well as the Turkey Day, and she was sworn in as Undersheriff in 2014. As Undersheriff, she oversees 700 deputies, civilians, and volunteers in the Douglas County Sheriff's Office $68 million budget. The Undersheriff started her career in 1989 in the Patrol Division. During her years with Douglas County, she served in numerous positions in both investigations and patrol. She also served 4 years as the chief of the Law Enforcement Bureau. She specialized training in computer forensics and served as director of the Colorado Regional Computer Forensics Lab from 2001 to 2004. The Undersheriff is focused on helping employees with wellness programs and incentives and on new technology to benefit the citizens of Douglas County and make operations more efficient. She's also a resident of Northwest Douglas County here in Roxborough. And I'd like to welcome Holly Kluth.
Did we lose her? I think we lost her. She's coming back. She's coming back.
Oh, technology. There she is.
Make my video work. Sorry about that.
Hi, Holly. Welcome.
Okay, can you guys hear me and everything? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Thanks for the introduction. So just give me a little background here. Are we here with all of your members or just with the staff?
We have membership here today. We have about almost 30 people registered, members of all businesses, and we're excited to hear from you what's going on with the Sheriff's Department. Probably some questions we're going to get on the side chat. If you can't see them, I will ask them to you at the end.
Okay, yeah, I can't see the side chat, so yeah, that'd
Okay.
be great. Okay, well, it's very strange times here at the Sheriff's Office, and we, you know, when this whole COVID thing started, we had a number of our command staff that was quarantined due to an possible exposure. So we all learned to work away from each other very quickly. And I think from the Sheriff's Office perspective, what we've been working on mostly is really trying to serve the public in a full capacity while still trying to protect our employees. And we realized how difficult that is. We made a lot of changes right up front, but many that the citizens I don't think knew about, because we were really trying to keep that open lobby, open office, full service available to citizens and businesses. And luckily, I think we were kind of ahead of the game because we already provided a lot of online services, records requests, accident reports, all kinds of different services and information that you could get through our website. So I feel like we were very easily able to kind of slide into that online presence for people without much change for them. And we still have our lobby in Highlands Ranch open. We feel very strongly that we want to be there for people when they need us, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, as well as obviously whenever you call for an officer. But if you've had to report any crime, you know that the officers on patrol are taking a lot of precautions that include protective equipment, as well as trying to make phone calls when they can to make sure that this is something that an officer needs to come to the house, or is it something that someone can report online. And we just recently stopped doing actual accidents and put ourselves on accident alert, which means you can report your own accident unless it involves an injury or alcohol or drugs. And that just provided our officers with a little bit more protection from the face-to-face contact with people. Most of them are wearing full PPE, masks and gloves out on the road now, although I can tell you that's extremely odd for us because we do a lot with just simply presence with our communication, reading other people's body language and facial expressions, as well as our own, to de-conflict and to calm situations. And so it's very odd when our kind of duties with the citizens are really communicating in that face-to-face, and we're not really able to well. So I think that's hard to get used to. Some things happen suddenly. You're driving along and all of a sudden you see something and jump out, and maybe you don't even have time to put your mask on or your protective equipment. So we've had a few exposures there. But I feel like we've been really lucky in the Sheriff's Office. While we have had some employees tested positive, majority of those are all back to work and healthy. And we've had very minor situations in our detention center. We have about 100 to 150 less inmates than we did at the beginning of all of this. Part of that's by design. Part of it's because the courts aren't really working right now. Excuse me. So that has helped because then we have a little more room to spread people out if they start to get sick and quarantine them. And for the most part, it's kind of quiet out there. Families, if you've driven around Highlands Ranch around this time, families are all out walking and exercising and just enjoying the beautiful area we have here in Douglas County. Most people are obeying the public health order. We've had very, very few problems. We have great citizens here, and that's what's so nice is people, they know what's been ordered and what the law is, and nobody wants to break that. Everybody wants to cooperate and try to get things better. So obviously we are hoping that can start talking about recovery and moving out of this whole stage. And we have numerous conference calls daily and weekly with Tri-County Health and the commissioners and the municipalities and the quasi-governmental agencies around the county to kind of keep on the same page. And, obviously everyone's starting to talk about recovery and getting back to normal. With that, I'll kind of leave it as, hey, one thing we do still have out there has not gone away, and that's our auto thefts. The bad guys are coming from elsewhere, coming down here and stealing cars, and we've had at least one, if not more, pursuits a day. Majority of them we've captured, and are some of the people that are in our jail right now. But that has remained for some reason. That seems to be a big. Just saying goodbye to the sheriff. He's leaving. He says hello to everybody. But that's been the variety of our problems right now. We have had additional mental health issues. I think this is a tough time for people that already are struggling with mental health issues. And then obviously some in-home type crimes going on, some domestics and some other issues, custody issues, stuff like that. So with that, I'll just kind of open it up to any questions.
Holly, can you talk a little bit about, we heard reports of kind of fake police officers pulling people over. Is that a true rumor or not? And then also, what about the groups of people out in the parks? What are you guys doing about groups over 10 that are still getting together? Those are two things we've heard about.
Yep. When this first started, Aurora, I believe, had some impersonations. There may have been in other jurisdictions. We tried to put out some social media to let people know we will not be stopping you, asking you why you're out. Unless you're in a place that you don't belong, you're trespassing, or you're suspicious behind a business at 3 in the morning, we're not going to be coming up and stopping you. And so if you think that there is someone that is impersonating an officer, or you don't know why you're being stopped, you can always call dispatch, call 911, and find out, is there an officer that's following me, or is this vehicle that's trying to pull me over an officer? But we haven't had that here in Douglas County, but it is something you always have to be aware of. And then the second thing, some parks are closed, some HOAs have closed their parks, some entities and municipalities have closed certain portions of their park or closed for certain activities. Douglas County parks are open. If our officers typically aren't going around looking for it, but if someone complains, makes a call, and we've gotten hundreds of calls about a soccer group, looks like a soccer practice or football practice, not so much anymore, but at the beginning, we got a lot of those complaints, and we'll go by there and we'll just say, hey, did you know about the public health order? And you can't do this. People that live in the same household are allowed to be together in a park and kicking a ball around. So it's really those very obvious organized sports practices that we will come up and just educate people. We really haven't had very many problems, and if we tell them, explain to them a little bit about the public health order, usually that's all it takes.
Great, thank you. We did have another question. Some of our members have asked us if, they have concerns about looting during this time. Have you seen any looting, and can you speak to that for a minute?
I don't recall seeing any reports of that, although our officers, right now it's a little bit slower out there. It's not as much traffic. So they are concentrating on the closed businesses, on the closed schools, on doing increased patrols in that area to make sure that there isn't something going on that shouldn't be.
I don't see any other questions in the chat room. Does anyone have a question? Well, thank you so much, Holly. We really appreciate everything you guys do, and I hope everyone's feeling healthy at the department now.
Thanks so much. And I have to give a shout out to the community businesses as well as private citizens have done so much for the sheriff's office, for law enforcement, fire, the healthcare workers, giving, not that we need it, but, you drive up to Starbucks to get a coffee and they're like, it's free today. And you're like, well, thank you. We had 1,000 masks donated yesterday. For a long time, we couldn't get N95 masks or any masks. Everyone was out of them, and we've had citizens come up and raise funds and donate masks. Our officers have been flooded with homemade masks and by people that are seamstresses, and it's just wonderful. We can't tell you how much we feel blessed to be the Sheriff's Office of Douglas County, because people are amazing here.
All right, I have another one here. Have you seen any complaints about fireworks on Nextdoor? Oh, no, there have been complaints about fireworks on Nextdoor. What are your thoughts about that? And I guess to add on to that, have you heard anything about 4th of July? It's kind of two questions.
Sure. Yep. So we can't see what's going on Nextdoor. So we can post to every Nextdoor in the county, which is like 80,000 folks out there. We can post to every group, but we can't see what the groups post to each other. So personally, up in Roxborough is where I live. I have seen people complain about the fireworks at 8 o'clock. Typically, if you give us a call, if we have an officer, we'll take a drive-by. Most of the time during the fireworks season, we limit it to those that really appear illegal. There is a burn ban right now, so we would want to know if someone's got some fireworks that are dangerous out there. So just feel free to call, and most of the time we can make it by and check and make sure things are going okay. I haven't heard anything about 4th of July. A lot of it will depend on the weather probably. But also, I think it'll depend on what's going on here and what our resources are. I do know that there's some volunteer fire department areas that have done burn bans just simply because they don't have the resources to respond to them. And it wasn't necessarily that we're in a high fire danger at that time, but just due to resources, and resources are being pulled for other things right now.
Okay. What is the non-emergency number for everyone to know?
303-660-7505.
Any other questions? Well, we sure appreciate your time and you guys keeping us safe, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for all you guys do.
All right.
Okay, so what I would say right now is the Sheriff's Office has not really been deploying too many of the volunteers, mostly because we tend to be seniors and we're in that high-risk group. But I think we're going to be looking for ways that the Sheriff's Office can begin to deploy us in areas that they feel comfortable that we would be safe. And I have to say that the Sheriff's Office will always err on the side of the safety, in particular for their volunteers, because they recognize that the pay we get probably isn't worth the risk that we might want to take. But as I said earlier in my presentation, we have several volunteer groups within the Sheriff's Office. Community safety volunteers I will talk about. The Citizens Academy usually happens in September. And the Citizens Academy is a way that a Douglas County citizen can be exposed to all the various facets of the Sheriff's Office and what volunteer opportunities might be available. But its primary function is a community outreach activity to make sure that the citizens are aware of all the Sheriff's Office does do for the community. Not everybody is aware that the Sheriff's Office is responsible for managing the jail, for example. And that is in support of all the municipalities, not just unincorporated county. We have volunteers that work with search and rescue. We have volunteers that work in the Office of Emergency Management. We'll bring citizens in to do mock disasters, whether it be earthquakes or floods or whatever we're trying to simulate. But the community safety volunteers is the primary program that here to recruit with you guys today. And that program enlists the community volunteers who want to go through the background check that a deputy does. So it's pretty thorough. We go through the psychological, the physical, the mental, and the background check that a deputy does. And we lose probably 50% of our volunteers in that process where they're not eligible to move forward within the community safety volunteer program. Let me see if I can get my PowerPoint to work. So let me try that. Bring that over, share. See if it'll go.
Hey, I see a screen.
You do?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, little slideshow. This is the first time I've done it live. I'm usually doing this in person.
Oh, we're all doing things for the first time over our laptops.
Okay, so do you have my slide that says Community Safety Volunteer Program?
We do.
Oh, awesome. So basically, our mission statement is we enable citizens to become involved in the sheriff's office. We do this by providing services that the deputies could do, but they could be put to much better use, taking care of those guys that are stealing our cars and other activities that might require the use of some additional resources like a gun. We primarily do things like VIN verifications for our citizens. VIN verifications are when either people move into Douglas County and they bring vehicles with them and we've got to verify their VINs. Not all states do that, but it's a great program to protect the citizen, to ensure that their vehicle, as best we can, has probably not been stolen or used in the commission of a crime. We also do house watches. And house watches are something we do when a citizen goes out to the sheriff's site and says, I'd like to have my house watched because I'm going to be on vacation for a week or 2 weeks. And those are two of the functions that probably take up about 65% of the CSV's time that are on patrol. And there's more than just patrol. We also foster relationships with our citizens, and we support the efforts of both civilian and sworn office personnel. And our focus is to try to provide excellent service to the citizens of Douglas County. Right now, the slide is, we're more like about 66 citizens now that contribute to our community volunteer program. And it varies from probably our youngest guy is about 35 and our oldest guy's in his 80s. Typically, the patrol guys are not much more than in the 70s. And basically, the people in the volunteer program, if they're retired, like I am, they'll have a tendency to put in 75 to 150 hours a month. The guys that are working a full-time job and trying to volunteer and trying to raise a family, they're going to be more like in the 16 to 20 hour a month range. We typically put in somewhere in the vicinity of about 20,000 hours a month that we donate as a group to the sheriff's office. And we have people in the program that have a lot of experience. Everything. We got one guy who's a doctor. We have a retired banker. We've got several people who were CEOs of small, medium, and large companies who just want an opportunity to give back. And not all were raised here in Colorado, like myself. I moved here from California. Best move I ever made. So we're a crime deterrent. We support the sworn officers and non-sworn employees, and we're ambassadors for the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. A crime deterrent is particularly the patrol division. The patrol division, I like to say, we're the ones that ride around in the white cars. We're the good guys. We don't give you tickets, we help you. The black cars are the ones you just don't want to make them mad because they're the ones with the tickets. But we also help the deputies a lot. We'll work accidents with the deputies. We'll assist them in doing the paperwork. We'll assist them in making sure that the citizens are safe, and we'll protect a multi-vehicle accident scene, because people in an accident, they're all freaked out. They're really not paying attention to the traffic around them, and the deputies are really focused on trying to understand what caused this accident and what action they need to take. So I personally think that the CSVs play a vital role in partnering with the deputies to make sure that we keep that scene safe. And sometimes the deputies have to go out and do measurements. And again, they're focused on getting their measurements. We're focused on keeping that deputy safe and the citizens safe. So the CSV patrol team, we perform activities which allow for increased visibility. So we're driving around the neighborhood. We're doing that because we're doing elementary school checks. We're doing it because we are doing house watches for the citizens. But by being present and driving, and you can see the example of that we drive 2014 to 2019 Tahoes. They definitely, and we're in uniform as I am now. Our uniforms are different. The deputies typically wear a uniform more like what Holly's wearing, the black uniform. They have usually a hard badge. We wear soft badges. We're light blue uniform, and our cars are white rather than black. But generally speaking, the public doesn't really recognize that difference. So when we have, although sometimes when I'm driving down the road and people start slowing down to do the speed limit, which is what I'm doing, and they realize it says community safety volunteer and not sheriff, all of a sudden they pick up their speed again. But as a general rule, we're recognized as being a part of law enforcement, and we are a deterrent for helping people protect their property. We do calls for service. We do the increased patrols. We do a lot of increased patrols in the dog parks. The sheriff will let us know what areas they want us to concentrate on. If there's been a high crime rate, like a lot of break-ins on the cars in the dog parks, then we'll spend time going in there, and we'll collaborate that with the deputies. So we'll go in and we'll do a run around the park, sit there for a little bit as a deterrent, and when we leave, sometimes the deputy will wait about 5 or 10 minutes and come behind us just to see if somebody was watching and now they thought they were safe because we left. So we try really hard to catch these bad guys. Like I said, we do also park checks. The house watch vacation, we do house watches when people are on vacation. We do VIN verification. We do a lot of cold offense reports. These can be simple misdemeanor crime activities. These can be found property. We do a lot of the bicycle found property because the deputies' cars are so full of equipment, they can't handle moving a bicycle to a found property location. So we'll do that for them. And we also, in a couple of our cars, we have bike racks, so we can throw them on the back. And then, of course, we'll do impounds. So a lot of times when the deputies have an arrest with a vehicle involved, like a DUI, they'll call for us to come in and protect the scene so they can take the offender to the jail, and we will handle the impound of the vehicle with the tow company. We don't do much radar patrol anymore. Occasionally, we'll do that as a deterrent. At the sheriff's request, we may go sit in a school zone and have the gun out, and that will just automatically slow people down. But because we're not sworn to be able to do traffic tickets, we don't do a lot of that. We do a lot of, if we do radar, it's usually either as a deterrent or it's to gather information for the sheriff's office as to what's happening on a particular road. We also do move the speed trailers around for the sheriff's office. So when it's requested by the deputies, and usually comes from the citizens, and there's areas where there's a big concern about speeding on side streets or main streets, we'll be the ones that will take out the speed trailer and set them up. Of course, the traffic unit can do that too, but we like them to be out taking care of the offenders, and we'll take care of the logistical side of getting those trailers performed. We do traffic control at accidents, traffic light malfunction. You'll see us around a lot at special events, whether it's football games or the dances at the high schools. And some of us are qualified to do level 1 crash investigations, which normally is when an accident takes place on private property, like a shopping center. We'll go out and we can actually issue the reports unless there's violent activity around it or there's drugs or alcohol involved, in which case we have to call it in. Excuse me. We also have volunteers who aren't interested in going out and patrol, but they really want to assist the deputies in the sheriff's office. So we have people in the CSB investigations team, liquor code inspections. That's almost a patrol type activity where we have a couple of our CSBs who are qualified to go out and do liquor investigations. And they may be involved with the deputies on occasion to do a sting in a place where they're maybe selling to minors. We coordinate activities that come from the pawn shops where they provide information to us as to material that they've accepted, and we'll check that out and see if that connects to crimes that have taken place. And if that happens, it goes to the deputies to investigate. We have the new crime lab that is partially up and running. I don't know if it's completely up and running. I might be able to address that. But we have had CSBs who are strong education in the chemistry area that have been involved with the crime lab. Right now, that's kind of up in the air as this is now a joint venture, and I'm not sure how it's going to play out. We have CSBs that are involved in the financial crimes area. Like I said, we have one CSB is a banker. And we also have another CSB that's a doctor, and both of them have been very helpful in working with the investigation division to help them identify things that maybe the deputy would have missed because they didn't have the medical background or that strong financial background that the banker had. And we do some work in cold case assistance. We also have CSBs that work on the detention team, and the detentions is the jail. They primarily focus on intakes and outtakes and processing paperwork. And then we have some folks that people who end up in the jail, of course, the sheriff really wants to try to have them not come back. So some of our CSBs are educators, and they'll provide either a GED instruction to help them get an education so that maybe when they're released, they can get a decent job. There's also Bible study groups and recovery groups that our CSBs are involved in. We have the CSB Community Resources Team, and that's community events, National Night Out. We get involved occasionally with the Colorado Life Track, although that's mostly now handled by Search and Rescue. The Colorado Life Track is a tracking system where certain at-risk individuals wear a device that allows them to be tracked. So if they're reported missing, we can use that equipment to help locate them. But again, Search and Rescue has been heavily more involved in that than the CSBs have been. We have CSBs that work in the civil and warrants team. We were assisting in the concealed handgun permits area, but that's slowed down quite a bit. So right now, the full-time employees have got that under control, and I don't think we have anybody working there at the moment. But we do have folks working in the warrant research area. And that's really interesting because even though we're just sitting at a computer and behind the desk, we have our CSBs who have been instrumental in making or assisting in a felony arrest take place, because they have discovered that a felon is in a different county, going to go to court, and we've connected the dots and got a warrant, that warrant to be served in that county. So that's pretty exciting things we do there too. And then the Office of Emergency Management, we're involved in mock exercises. That could be, we're going to evacuate. We did Roxborough last year, I believe, and I was on that team. And we assist in training the community on how to properly execute an evacuation in case of emergency. In addition to that, we do other exercises. We used the Citizens Academy last year to participate as victims, and we pretended that we had a disaster take place at the sheriff's office. And then we assist with other county emergencies. For example, I'm trained to work in the logistics section and the admin section of the Emergency Operations Center. And and I have been utilized during COVID-19, but we've been very successful in moving a lot of that to be remote virtual like we're doing right here today. Okay, oops, wrong way. And then we have a training team, and the CSVs we're trained, a couple of us are trained on running the simulators. The simulators are pretty interesting. I think the Citizens Academy does get exposed to the simulators, and the simulator is where the deputies get to come in and use laser guns, and the videos that we project on the wall are live action kind of videos. It's like a big video game, and it's an opportunity for the deputies to practice their skills. And we thoroughly enjoy working with the trainers to make that happen. We assist somewhat in the range training, and then we do a lot of filing and scanning in the training section. We do special projects for the Sheriff's Office. Those are gate code management. You would be surprised how many gates there are in Douglas County. And when a deputy needs to get in to a facility or a residence because there's something going on, the last thing he needs is to get there, and you can't get through the gate. So we're out there constantly trying to keep those gate codes up to date. The sheriff's got some amazing technology that most of the times that gate code will pop right up on the deputy's computer as he approaches the gate, so he can get in right away with minimal delay. And then we try to spend some activity with business contacts. I know through the community outreach group, we're working on trying to use videos in collaboration with the business community to assist in crime takeaways and things like that. So that's our technology group. As far as safety is concerned, I mentioned this to you guys earlier, the Sheriff's Office is very committed to the safety of their employees and their volunteers. We know we can't eliminate the risk, but we spend a lot of time training. For example, a CSV who's being trained to be in patrol will have almost 1,000 hours of training before he's ever allowed to go out solo in a patrol vehicle. That's a lot of training. We do it in the classroom, we do it on the job. The Sheriff's Office has a mandatory procedure where we have to constantly be up to date on what's happening with the standard operating procedures. We have experience levels where people get to be a sergeant or a lieutenant or a captain based on their experience and the needs of the department. We have a month. We haven't had a monthly meeting for a while because we haven't quite figured out how to deploy the technology to do it virtually with our volunteers. But we usually have a monthly meeting with all of our CSVs. We have an FTO, a field training officer group that meets regularly, and they review the progress of the people in the program and how they're progressing and developing ways to help them move along in the program. And of course, our volunteer group is pretty much managed by volunteer managers. We do have a full-time employee, a civilian, and a sergeant and a lieutenant who are specifically assigned to manage our program, but the day-to-day activities are pretty much handled by the volunteer leadership. So to be a part of the CSB program, you have to have a desire to want to serve the community. You have to commit to 16 hours minimum per month, and you need to attend the 9-week academy, which usually happens in April and May. It usually meets 2 nights a week, Tuesday and Thursday from 1800 to 2200, 3 to 4 Saturdays from 8 to 5, and a 15-hour CSB observation ride program. And it's taught, most of this is taught by command staff and deputies and investigators. And there are certain certifications that you'll achieve going through the program, but most importantly, we're all trained in first aid, CPR, and we're all trained to be a deputy, a motor vehicle VIN inspector so that we can perform that task. You need to be 21 years or older, a U.S. citizen. You have to possess a valid Colorado driver's license. You have to pass a general aptitude test, polygraph test, medical exam, psychological test, and a full background investigation. Never have been convicted of a felony. Satisfactory driving record, including no alcohol-related offenses in the last 5 years. Absolutely no illegal drug use within the last 3 years. Marijuana is 1 year. ability to deal with confidential information and keep it confidential, and possess a good public speaking and presentation skills. Nobody told me about this technology part though. So, so the guiding principles for our group: safety first. We want all of our volunteers to go home. We want all of our deputies and all our employees to go home every day. We want them to be proud of what they were able to do for the community. We want them to be concerned about the safety of other responders and citizens. We want them to make sure they understand their responsibility to have crime scene for protection, because we need to try to protect the evidence. And then we want to be a deterrent. We want to be visible. We want to be out there. We don't pursue anybody. If we see something going on, we contact the dispatch or a close by deputy, and we follow their instructions to do what it is they might want us to do. An example of the kinds of things that CSBs might find on a house watch, particularly on the first day. When we do house watches, we walk around and check all the doors. We look at all the windows, make sure they're secure. And sometimes we will find an unlocked door where the citizen was in a hurry to leave and they forgot to lock the door after they had the dog go out or whatever. And when we find an unlocked door or an open door, the difference is an unlocked door is unlocked, an open door is actually wide open. We'll contact the deputy or the dispatch, and we'll advise them whether it's an unlocked or open door. And the dispatch, the sheriff's office, will determine how many deputies they were going to send based on the circumstances, and they'll totally clear the house while the CSB does not do that. The CSB basically stands outside and pays attention to the surrounding area and make sure there's nobody leaving the scene, and if there is, we'll notify the deputy. We're in radio contact constantly with dispatch and the other deputies. We have CAD systems in our car. They know where we are at all times. So I think the sheriff's office does an awful lot to, again, protect their employees and their volunteers. And last but not least, we're the eyes and ears. Our job is to be a good witness. So if we see something going on as a CSB out of control, our job is to make sure that we share that information with the appropriate authority. I already went through the uniforms earlier, and the vehicles, I talked about that. Our rank structure is we have about, I think we don't have 9 sergeants right now. I think we're probably more like at about 8 or 7. We only have 2 lieutenants right now and no captain right now, but I know we're looking at that. And there's where you can go for more information, either at the CSB at dcsheriff.net or 303-814-7063. And I'm open for questions, and I'm going to stop here.
Thank you, John. You guys are awesome ambassadors for our Sheriff's Department and our community. We really appreciate all that you do, along with our Sheriff's Department. Thank you, Undersheriff Kluth, for being here.
Sure. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for John before I do a couple of other announcements? I see a chat coming in. Do you recruit and train year-round?
The answer to that is now yes. It used to be we would only go out and recruit somewhere starting around September, and our cutoff was December for applications for the CSB program. But we're trying to build more connection between my recruiting activities for the CSB group and the community outreach team that does that year-round, because we have the Citizens Academy, we have search and rescue teams. We have a lot of volunteer opportunities, not just community safety volunteers. So yes, we're trying to do that, and that's why I'm doing more outreach to groups like yours. And I appreciate the opportunity to have a presentation, and love to come back again anytime.
Great, thank you so much. We have a couple things to do with our membership. First, we want to give a big shout out to Michelle Calesi and HRCA for being our platinum level sponsors of the chamber, and they're here today. So thank you. Andrea's going to, let's all do this, then they know we're all doing this. Thank you. Andrea's going to make me a background with all our sponsor logos, she said. So this is going to be fun to practice until we get it right. So thank you for your support of our organization. We certainly appreciate it. And then we have unmuted Bree, and she's done an amazing job on social media. So we're gonna have her give a couple updates on what she's doing. Make sure you're all following along on social media so that we can promote you during this really odd time of doing business. So welcome, Bree.
Hi, thank you. And thanks again to the Douglas County Sheriff's Office and John, Undersheriff Kluth. And it's such a pleasure to have you guys in membership. And one way we as members can help support them on social media is to follow them on Facebook and Twitter. I know that the Sheriff's Office is very active on both, and we often share and retweet some of their posts. So to keep our members and our community in the loop, it's a good thing to do that. And also the Chamber and EDC is trying to remain very active on our social media. As hopefully most of you have seen, we've started a Meet Your Members post where certain members have posted to that, and we give a little shout out to them, especially our ambassadors, our Chamber Management Committee members, our Women's Business Alliance members. So look for more of those to come. In addition to, of course, boosting some of our members who are feeling the pinch quite a bit, our restaurant, hotel, hospitality industry, several members whose doors have closed because of this stay-at-home order. But we continue to be active on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. So please, all of you, like us, follow us. Stay tuned to everything that we post regarding business support, economic recovery, unemployment, workforce, and then, of course, always promoting our members. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me directly via email, which I think all of you should have my email address. If not, let me know.
Thank you, Bree. You probably all have suffered through this merger with the three of us, but now we have one Facebook page. So if you're still following an old one that's not published anymore, please make sure you're following Northwest Douglas County Chamber and EDC Facebook page. That's where all the action is these days. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Andrea is killing it at doing newsletters every week. So make sure that you're getting her communications and following along with all the resources that she's finding for all of our businesses. The three of us are just, heartbroken for all of you that are suffering in business right now, and we're doing all we can to support you, give you the resources you need, and we're going to be there for you the long term. So please let us know what you need. If you're not finding the help that you need, contact us and we'll help navigate that. So we're here for you, and we appreciate all of you supporting the Chamber and EDC throughout this too. So I think that's all I have, unless you guys have any questions to add to the chat. We're still talking about our May events. We certainly hope things start opening slowly, but we understand there's a process to do that. So as soon as we can hold events, we will, but we will communicate with you as we move forward on our plans. Any other questions? I don't see any in the chat, so thank you for spending your hour with us today. Sorry we couldn't feed you a really good lunch, but we hope you go out to a member business and get some takeout today and every day. And I just see, thank you all. So our big thanks to you guys. We really appreciate you, and we're here for you. So have a good day, and we'll see you on another Zoom call soon.